What's up, folks? It's Ken Ledesma here with a new episode of TNE, the Nirvana Experience. And I got a special guest on the show today, go by the name of Ruby Rae, the host of the podcast Kaleidoscope, Perspective Beyond the Surface. And I listened to the show, and me personally, my favorite episode is the second episode when she had two guests on there, and by the name of Maya, and how you pronounce her name? Redalia?
Raldia.
Yeah, that. And I forgot to keep taking notes because I got so caught up in the conversation. But here's Ruby. What's going on, Ruby?
Hi, Ken. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I'm thrilled to hear that you enjoyed my podcast.
Yeah, I did. I really did enjoy the second episode. And the main reason why I like the episode so much is because, like, after a while, it started getting real and it just started being open and honest about feelings and becoming yourself and all that type of shit. So I really did like it. It made me stop taking my notes because I got so caught up in the conversation.
That episode definitely, at one stage, I cut off a large tail at the end, and all of us were laughing and in tears at some point. But yeah, it got even deeper than that.
Yeah, so I wrote down some notes. There's certain things from both episodes that I want to touch on. And from the first episode, I remember when I heard y'all talking, and you said something about, your creativity before puberty.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You mentioned that the last time you truly felt creative was before like puberty hit you and stuff like that. Do you still feel the same way? Are you more creative now?
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't feel the same way anymore. My creativity is all back. And It's bursting out of me for the first time. For the first time in many years, I'm writing every single day. And it's a really, really special experience for me to be able to do that again. And I'm not sure exactly what it was that hid or that covered the creativity. But in my second episode, I give the metaphor of the cave, right?
Right.
And I think that before puberty specifically, I was able to go outside and see the light. And then after that, that's kind of when the real pressure of, for me, masculinity and the masculine rituals started being a thing. And these are the candles that I lit.
Okay. I remember hearing you say that you were writing poetry or something like that. You was writing poetry. So do you write currently?
I currently write, yeah. And they are quite sensual, but I have some fresh poetry. If you would like, I'm happy to read one on the podcast.
Yeah, if you're comfortable reading one, we can get to it. We can read it if you want.
I'll open it. Do you want me to do that now?
No, whenever you pull it up and get ready, you can let me know. And we can just go from there.
I want to pull it up.
So I like I said, I was listening to the episode and like I said, that second episode is the one that really made me sit back and think about a lot of shit. Like for instance, when Maya was talking about how she stepped away from organized religion because she was people was telling her that she needed to follow her husband and all the type of stuff. She just basically wanted their freedom. Me personally, I don't see nothing wrong with it because as a man, I would want my wife to follow my lead and stuff like that. But I understood why she was saying it. I understood why she separated herself from there. So you're not part of a organized religion or anything like that, correct?
No.
Right. So when it come down, do you have a view or a perspective on it? As far as people being married and want their husband want their wife to follow them?
You mean like the nuclear family, the ideal Christian viewpoint of what it should be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a viewpoint. It's really interesting that you bring it up because I was speaking to Maya this morning about religion and spirituality. Actually, while I was driving to work, I checked if they were available online, and they weren't. So I started listening to an audiobook that my aunt sent me. She is quite religious. The book is called The Power of Holy Language.
Mm-hmm.
It's very spiritual. It's not specifically religious, but she used to be quite religious. And I was listening to this, and when I got to school, I popped on to our group again, and they were online. And I went online, and this is what they were talking about: the spirituality and the connection between people. And when you ask about the kind of classic male-female roles, obviously I'm outside of that, and to an extent I'm still binary. So I have rejected the idea of masculinity, and I want to be a woman. I am a woman for all intents and purposes, and with a few caveats, let's be honest. But I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I am told what to do in like the Mormon sense of a marriage, ever.
Okay.
So I've always been of the opinion that a husband and a wife should be filling a more equal role, and the patriarchal idea of what a household should look like is an idea from a bygone era. To be honest, it's not even practical anymore, especially with the way the economy is going in a lot of countries.
Mm-hmm. So, do you see yourself being like married or anything like that?
I am married.
Are you currently married?
Yeah.
So that's why. So it's more like like you said, an equal marriage. There's no somebody following somebody.
Exactly, and it's always been like that. So I've been married for 8 years. It's a normal cisgendered straight marriage, and I'm very blessed and happy that my wife is of the opinion that I make a better woman and a better partner as a woman.
Okay. Another thing that I want to tap in on, y'all talking about in the first episode, y'all talking about how school put people in a box.
Oh, yeah.
And put people in a box and trap creativity. Can you expand on it a little bit more? Because I want to hear y'all talk about this.
Sure. So in that first episode, we're all teachers.
Okay.
And so this is something that we go through all the time, and we see students being pushed into a certain direction that is not necessarily where they would flourish. And as a teacher, it's not really our place to. We can encourage students when they're on the right path and when they're doing something, but ultimately that's the parent's decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to sometimes to tell a parent, look, this is not the best way to actually teach your kid. And to put it into perspective, I've been teaching for 13 years.
Okay.
And I've taught thousands of students. And I've spent more during the time of teaching. The teacher spends, and this is actually egregious, it's a big problem in my opinion. The teacher spends much more time with their child than the parent does.
Yeah.
So for many, in many situations, we start taking over a parental role, where that's not what I signed up for. It's not what I want to do, but it's something that sometimes I have to do because the father or the mother or both parents are absent, and the child is staying in a fancy hotel every night.
Right.
And this is a real story. So then you see these kids go to after school programs, and what they really want to do is just draw or build or go to a STEAM class, but their parents are sending them to an English class or a maths class. And that just kills their will to move forward. There's a concept in English language teaching called the affective filter. And it's true for all languages. If you don't want to learn a language, you're not going to. It doesn't matter how hard somebody tries to teach you. And the moment you start to feel that there is an anxiety around learning because you can't do it, that affective filter starts increasing. It gets harder and harder to get new information in. So your input and output, I might be giving you an amazing lesson, but you're not taking away anything because all of that time you're stuck in this anxious ball thinking, I can't do this, I can't do this.
Yeah, and then when you really don't want to learn something, you thinking of other stuff that you'd rather be learning instead of what you being forced to learn. So when it come down to like students in the school, what about the university path? Like, university, all people ain't meant to attend a university. So when it come down to that, like, why do you think school always push the narrative of attending a university?
Because I think that the education system, by and large, has become a religion unto itself. So the schools are so concerned with making money and accumulating wealth. Mm-hmm. And I think at the university level, that's quite important, because for research, you need money. But there's definitely way too much money within university that's going to administration. And I think that schools in particular are pushing this like university path for prestige. So they're doing it to make their own money, right? They're trying to stick their fingers deeper into the honeypot because they can go, oh, look, our school sent 25 students to Ivy League schools this year. So we must be so good. And parents eat that up.
I want to know why, because like you mentioned in your first episode, you originally wanted to go to school for what it was, digital art?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, digital art. And I forget what you said you ended up taking instead, but
communication management.
Yeah, communication management. So do you do anything with digital art now?
Yeah, so digital art became my hobby.
Okay.
And I'm trying to make that more than my hobby by starting my company, writing poetry. I'm pairing that with some AI art. Mm-hmm. And I consider audio as digital art as well. It's within the same realm.
So, so you're a teacher. What do you teach?
That's an interesting question. So I am an IB homeroom teacher. The IB is an international baccalaureate program. And that means there's no set curriculum.
Okay.
There are subject continuums that are a guide. So students are within phases of a guideline. For English, that guideline by the school will be chosen from another curriculum, for example, Cambridge or Oxford English or whatever. And then it's adapted into the IB system by me going, okay, this student is in phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 for some cases. And 1 is like a very beginner level. They can't really do it. 2 is they're starting to grasp the concept. 3 is they're learning, but there are some gaps. And then 4 is they're quite proficient.
Okay. So
there's no at least not for primary school, there's no explicit grading that's happening. It's a band. And so what I teach is all subjects within the context of an overarching theme. And that theme is something, for example, quite recently, the theme that I'm busy with right now is called, so it's our Unit 5, how we organize ourselves. And because of the tariff situation, I chose, this is where it gets really cool, because the teacher and the students can work together to decide where they want to take the unit under the umbrella of organizing ourselves with like some specified concepts or ideas like connection, responsibility, and causation. So we can pull up the Tesla stocks and go, why is this happening? And then look at some news articles. I can have the students do research on that, and then they come back and they tell me what they think. And then we had a 10-day stock market simulation with fictional companies and fictional news blurbs and stuff. And then they had to choose based on what they read in the fictional news, what they want to buy and sell. And then at the end, do an analysis. So I basically, when people ask me, the short answer is I do project classes and I teach English.
Okay. So your communication management degree don't factor into you teaching?
I think that, yeah, it does in a way, because communication management is a lot about PR, external relations, and where it comes into my teaching is my specific specialty was internal communication management. So brand management within the school. That means that I'm able to theoretically, I don't believe that any degree is the be all and end all for ability, right? But my classroom has a very strong identity with itself.
Okay.
Because I'm able to foster that from some past experience.
Do a lot of kids at school lack focus intentionally, or is it because of the curriculum?
It's definitely because of the curriculum, I think. It's not only because that's a very nuanced question, because I think that the curriculum has a huge effect on it. Teaching style has a huge effect on it. Too much homework has a huge effect on it. I'm sure you remember I said homework should just be banned because it's not useful.
Oh my fucking God.
Oh, Ken, you're gone. I'm going to keep talking. Homework is not really useful in and of itself for students to gain knowledge, because if the intent is to teach, you lost your background.
I end up kicking my cord down there, but yeah.
There we go. Okay. If the intent is to teach the students, then they need help, right? Because the idea of teaching is to give them something that they don't know. So the only thing homework can possibly be effective with is practicing something they already know. That's my opinion. And so, yeah, I think that students are unable to focus in class because, one, I think it's boring. It's not relevant to their lived experience as children. And there's too much pressure.
Well, I know from my personal experience that when I was in school, I was bored all the time. Even when I took advanced placement classes and stuff like that, I stayed bored because the stuff that I want to learn, I really wasn't learning for real.
What did you want to learn in school?
That's why. So I was real heavy into writing. I love to write and I love to read. So when I was in math and science and all the other shit, I was like, man, I don't even want to be here. I was like, you ain't gonna even use this in real life. And those are the classes I struggled in a little bit because my focus was because I really didn't want to learn this shit. So it school outside of the actual curriculum, me being in school and interacting with my friends and all that type of stuff, I had fun doing that. But the actual classwork and being in the class, I hate it.
I feel you there. I think then some of my experiences come from the same idea. I was not interested, and even now as a teacher, I'm constantly looking for ways to make this relevant to students and to differentiate in a way that they can. So you like to read? What kind of stuff did you like to read?
See, I was real big. One of my first series of books I ever tried to read was the Harry Potter series, but I couldn't get into it at all. And so I started reading stuff like the Chronicles of Narnia.
Objectively like better.
And yeah, I believe it, because when I tried to read Harry Potter, it was just, I couldn't get into it. But when I came across Twilight, that's what really made me start loving reading a whole lot more the Twilight series. Stephanie Meyer's her series on Twilight. And that's what inspired me to like write my own book and my own series and stuff. So I don't know how comfortable you all were talking about your transition.
You can ask.
And then all right, I heard you say something about you getting the medical treatment that you needed, and it was easier for you to get your medical treatment. Is it hard for trans people to get medical care?
It depends where you are. I think it's never easy. There's such a huge stigma around being trans that it just being trans in and of itself is a stressful experience. And when you don't know that, when you're not actually aware of why you're having these feelings, and you have to assign them to being normal, because nobody ever talks about it, right? Because how can you talk about it? And even now, talking about it is considered an agenda. It's not an agenda. It's literally just the only thing that I regret about my transition, and I'm right in the beginning, is that I didn't start sooner, because I didn't have the framework and knowledge to understand what the possibilities are for me. So if I could have known, if I could have had some kind of gateway to think about this openly without fear, instead of to tell you what really happened, why do trans people commit suicide at alarming rates, and where do they get the idea that they can actually transition? There isn't a space for it, and America used to be one of the most the safest havens for that, but not anymore. The only way that I could cite the things that were going on in my mind is by going on to like fringe comic book sites where body morphism was being discussed. It's nowhere else. So, and that's not a healthy outlet either, right? It would be much healthier if somebody could go, you know, this is a thing that you can feel, and if you feel like it, you can talk about it. So to get back to your question, yeah, I'm able to get the care that I need, and I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to that I put it off for a long time. For a long time in China, I was just thinking about it and thinking about, like, I'm making good money here. How do I get out of here and still make a living and get the care that I need? And eventually, I found someone who was able to get me the drugs that I need. And then the moment I got them, I felt it was a life-changing experience. And at that point, I hadn't even taken them, but I started making bookings with doctors and psychologists in South Africa to speak to them. And I spoke to them, and then I got reference letters from them, and then I had to get those translated and officiated here in China into Chinese. And then I could hunt down the single one pro-trans doctor that is registered in the city that I live. And then I could make a booking with her. She only works on Fridays. And then I had to like show her this letter and hope that she would give me the prescription, and she did.
Okay, so did you battle with what is called body dysmorphia and stuff like that?
For me personally, no. My experience is more disassociation. So you play a lot of video games. This is a good one. You know, in the beginning of the game, when you get to make your character, you oftentimes look in the mirror and you get to choose what they look like. Imagine every single time you look in the mirror and you wait for that menu to pop up, and it never does.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
That was my life. I would watch. I would zone out in the mirror. Like I would brush my teeth for 10 minutes, just because I can't see myself. And now, for the first time in the last 5 months, I'm able to see myself.
So you just starting the transition now?
I started hormones on the 16th of December last year.
Okay, about 5-6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did I remember you saying something when you talked to the girls about your family dynamic. Do you still have issues with your family?
So yeah, there's been some evolution in that. So 2 or 3 days ago, I'm losing track of time. I think Monday, I just posted on Facebook. So my extended family and friend groups now know that I am trans. And I immediately lost about 70 friends. People unfriended me on Facebook. But then like a few family members came out saying, it's okay. We support you. We still love you. One of the biggest allies in that case was my aunt. The book that I was reading or listening to this morning is from her. There are members of my nuclear family that I haven't spoken to since. I would prefer not to mention them, but my mom very noticeably is starting to process everything, and I had some great conversations with her just recently for the first time. Yeah.
It got to be tough, like coming out to your family and stuff like that, because like you've been dealing with it and hiding it for so long, because you never know how a person may truly react to what you tell them. So I think that, you know, you got to build up a lot of nerve to even just say it out loud.
Oh yeah. So when I don't know how much do you want to know? Do you want me to spill the tea, so to speak?
You like I said, you can talk about whatever on here. So whatever you want to share.
I've been cross-dressing for a long time, and even with that, my partner didn't see it coming. And excuse me, I just need to. Sorry, I didn't want to muck up your audio.
Yeah.
My partner didn't see it coming, so when I told her, it was a big shock. When I told her, look, I'm gonna take hormones, she dealt with it really quickly. But one of the biggest risks about and the biggest problems with being trans is nobody thinks about it critically, because it's so taboo, and it's so hard to relate to, because it's not a relatable experience. I wouldn't expect anybody to be able to relate to it, and the only way that I can do that is through stories. And I've been thinking about how do I relate this to you, because I assume that you don't have transgender thoughts at all.
All right.
So, and if you don't mind, I'm going to. Do you mind if I talk about the South African history? Okay. So the only way that I can imagine someone being able to understand what it is to be transgender to imagine that you are living in among a group of people, and South Africa is the perfect how do I say, the perfect example of this. Imagine I took an African boy and I put him in a racist white family, and they all had African slave labor around them, and they told this boy, "You're white. You're white. You're white. You're white. You're white. Always. That's what you are." Nobody ever talks about it, but you know that you're not. You know that this isn't your culture. You know that these aren't your people. But you're so scared to say it because you think that if you do, you're going to lose the life that you know, because maybe they are very nice people at the same time. And you love them because they actually gave birth to you. And you have to tell them that you're not like them.
Look, I remember when you were talking on Kaleidoscope when you first cross-dressed, it was like a formative, formative explosion or something. You said. Like what do that mean? Like formative explosion. What do that mean?
It means that basically the neurology of my brain reset, and my true spirit took over the shell that is my body. That's like, if I talk about disassociating, looking in a mirror and not being able to see myself and waiting for this menu to pop up, that menu finally popped up.
So you finally felt like you was being yourself.
It's literally like me getting dressed here and walking outside and then turning around and going, whoa, oh fuck, there is a third person in the house. And then you go, oh damn, that's me. I've never seen myself before. And it's still like that every day because things are starting to change to the way that at least my deep subconscious feels they've always been supposed to be.
How is your outlook on a day-to-day basis since you started to transition? Like, is it better and mind more clear?
So when I was at university, I got extra time for anxiety and dyslexia. Those my dyslexic symptoms are completely gone. I don't have them anymore. I can write sentences. So as a teacher, when I write on the whiteboard, I always had to think very carefully about my writing. I couldn't do it fast. And my board writing has almost doubled in speed in the last 5 months. And I don't have any dyslexic symptoms, and my creativity is back, and I feel alive. Like I stopped thinking about turning in front of a truck while I was driving home.
So I don't know, like I'm not a teacher or nothing like that. So like, what if one of the students come to you and try to express to you that they were feeling the same way you feeling? Like, what steps as a teacher?
Look, my students don't know that I am trans. Yeah.
I understand that, but like, what if like a student come to you and having the same issue that you face? What steps are you supposed to take?
So the steps that I would take are to comfort the student and call their parents in for a meeting and discuss with the parents that what the student said, and then discuss with them what the best opportunities, and I'll give them my suggestions. China actually just now is starting to have better transgender care for the first time. That's a little bit more open, and there's a hospital that caters to trans students in Shanghai.
Do China is it looked down upon being transgender?
In Asia in general, no. China is very socially conservative, and that's predominantly from the Cultural Revolution. And while the rest of the world was experiencing the 70s and 60s, China was stuck in a cultural revolution. So they kind of skipped all of that progress. Whether that's exact, I'm not an historian, but that's my perspective, at least. In Asia, like if you look at Thailand, they have the Katoi culture, with the commonly known as lady boys, and Thailand has now started giving free transgender care to all transgender people. So not looked down upon there at all. Here in China, there's no non-binary recognition, and it's not codified into law, but most people just don't care.
Okay. How long you been teaching? How long you been in China? 10 years. So you've been teaching?
No, I taught in Thailand for 3 years, and I taught horse riding in South Africa for like a couple of years and into high school, casually.
Okay. Yeah. Like it's so like I never been to the country, so hearing different perspectives for somebody who live in those countries about this topic is, kind of interesting, because what I deal with and what I see every day. And I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with you. My stance, I used to always, I used to be homophobic.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'd be like, man, I don't want to deal. I was like, I don't want to deal with this shit and all that type of shit. But I realized, I even told Carl before when we were recording TNE, what somebody do with their life and doing their bedroom stuff don't got nothing to do with me. So at the end of the day, just let them folks just live their life. Like, just don't, like, you don't got to treat them no different. You don't got to hate them or nothing like that. Just let them live their life. As long as they ain't out here doing nothing to nobody and hurting somebody or killing somebody, man, let these folks live their life.
I was very nervous about coming on to, because the podcast that I read, I listened to 3 of your podcasts, and one of them was about from your Valentine's Day episode. I'm not sure which number it was.
Man, my memory is so messed up. I don't remember what I talked about on the episode.
Oh, it was about dealing with this the question what to do as a teacher. Special guest, Cord TV Part 3.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. And you guys mentioned the like gay people within comic books and the representation of gay and transgender people in media now.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the idea that some people think that it might be it's getting pushed because it's new, but at the same time, I think that it's not being like heterosexuality. If we're saying something is being pushed, heterosexuality is also being pushed, right? And there will always be more heterosexual people than non-heterosexual people. The statistics show about 12% of sexually diverse people. So that means gay, bisexual, transgender. Transgender makes up a very small part of that, maybe 1.5%. So obviously not every TV show, actually most TV shows, if we look at from a statistical perspective, most TV shows should be heterosexual, and they are. But there's also definitely space for the normalization of non-heteronormative people to be in video games and TV shows. And it comes into like the things between this and race politics are so closely linked, and they have been forever, and that's culminated in Stonewall in New York, because some of the strongest activists for race politics were transgender or gay people. So yeah, it's a very nuanced. There are some very nuanced points points there, but I think that normalization is important.
Yeah, so the last episode that I recorded, I think it was last week with Carl, the conversation about gay characters in comic books came up again. And my whole point on it, like, let's take what's his name, Captain America, for instance. Within the 80 years of Captain America existing, Steve Rogers never showed signs of being gay. Now I say, let's just say they came up with a whole new character, and he just so happened to like become Captain America, but he not Steve Rogers. He was gay. That's cool. But my whole thing is, they're just like making Bruce Wayne, Batman, all of a sudden gay. When out of 85 years, he never showed signs of being gay. Now, if he end up meeting somebody that he trained or something that was transgender or gay, something like that, and he ended up becoming Batman or whatever, that's cool. But the character that's already established, I don't think they should be.
No, I agree with you.
Changed.
I wouldn't want to. I don't like the idea of messing with the lore that exists, even if the lore is not what we think is okay today. It is a fictional story and should be held in that regard, right? So if you take Warhammer 30,000, they're making some of that work, and there are factions within that series that are like hardcore misogynistic male only factions. They should stay that because that's how they were written.
Exactly.
And that universe is so big, there's definitely space for something else. And I think that
it's space for everything. That, like you said, the existing IPs and the laws should stay the same. And if you want to use inclusion to include transgender, binary, queer people, like, just make new characters and include. You don't have to change the identity of characters already established. And that was my whole issue with, like I said, with Captain America, with Jonathan Kidd, Superman's son, and all that type of stuff. Like, just make new characters. Like, for instance, in Mortal Kombat, I don't know if you know anything about video games, but Mortal Kombat X, back in 2015, they created a whole new character. His name was Kunjin, and he was queer. But everybody liked him because he's just a new character and he's a good character. So, and people like his backstory and everything like that. So, it's spaces to create new characters, just don't change the existing.
That I agree with that. Like, it's stories are written as a form of art from the time at the point that they are born, and they should be kept that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
Like I said, I don't know. Like, I'm super opinionated. Like, I don't know what episodes of TNT you listen to, but it'd be times where I just go in and say my opinions and stuff. But one thing I'm not, as I started doing podcasts, and the longer I keep doing it, the more people I talk to, I began to realize that the world ain't gonna be how my mind see fit.
So one of the things that we were talking about this morning with Maya, and one of the things in the book is, if you are spending time in your mental state thinking about something that actively rejects another person based on nothing but who they are. So obviously, if you're doing that for self-defense, then you need to reject them, right? If somebody's coming at you with a gun, but if you're spending time thinking about how bad someone is for being trans, you're wasting time and you're hurting the whole world, because nobody cares and nobody should care, and the universe doesn't care.
One thing I can say though, like over here in America, like I said, like you said earlier, it may feel like it's getting pushed because you see so much of it. Like, I remember there's a point where I was growing up and it really wasn't pushed like that. But as I started getting older and became an adult, I started seeing more and more. I don't know if you can call it inclusion or on the gender. I don't know, but I started seeing more and more of the LGBTQ community getting pushed on a lot of stuff, especially like in the cartoon, like on Disney Channel, the cartoons. It was aspects of that in the cartoon and stuff. And I remember growing up, it wasn't in the cartoon when I was growing up. But it's so different. Like the world's so different now. And like I said, I got my opinions on a lot of stuff. But one thing I'm not gonna do is sit here and disrespect folks, tell folks how to live their life no more. Cause I used to do that bad. Cause like I said, I used to be real bad. Like I used to be real homophobic. But I had to come to the realization, like, everybody deserves to live the life they want to live. Yeah. Just point blank period. If you feel like you trans and you want to go with the transition and all types of, do it. Because at the end of the day, I can sit here and spit some hateful shit towards you about being trans, and then I don't see you no more for the rest of my life. You still gotta live your life. So what's the point of me even saying it? So like I don't even push hate or nothing. Everybody just live the life they want to live. Now it's gonna be some people that listen to this episode and know me personally and be like, damn, fool, like you changed. Cause like I came to a realization of a lot of stuff over the last month, and just sitting back and doing some self-reflection and thinking about some stuff made me realize that I'm not the only person on this earth. So everybody deserves to live the life they.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate you. That's a nice thing to say. And I agree with you as well. I do think like it's hard because I'm going to say this. I think that there should be a proportionate amount of childhood TV, some comic, some cartoons that are allowed to be queer and transgender and age appropriate. Obviously age appropriate within the sense of like it's okay to have men who love each other, women who love each other, and marry. That should not permeate every episode or everything. And like we just said, it should be the IP shouldn't be changed for the sake of for the sake of change and inclusion. It should be kept the way it is, and there can be new IP for the new things. But it's important to have, like in the beginning of the episode, I mentioned how scary it is to be trans because nobody's ever spoken about it. And for a level where it's at least normal, where kids or someone who is of age, like in America, I know there's a lot of rhetoric from the right saying, oh, you know, they're changing our kids kind of idea. Like most of my research has come from America where during my transition or realization period. And I'm much older. Like I said, I would have liked to have a framework to know at a younger age. But there are also methods to halt and methods that have been used for 70 years, like puberty blockers, to a certain extent, because if you use them too long, you start having risks. But those blockers can be life-saving, and they're used on non-transgender people all the time, especially girls, because sometimes girls go into puberty earlier. And I'm sure you've watched a TV show before where a girl gets teased because she's developing faster than her other friends. Those girls often go on puberty blockers to stop that development for a while. And then the last problem with all of this stuff is there's about an equal number of trans men and trans women in the world, but all of this hate is coming towards trans women because trans men have the luxury of easily being able to slip under the radar. It's easy. It's much easier for a woman to cross-dress as a man. than it is for a man to cross. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I've never been hairy or very masculine looking. Yeah. So I just think that there's a risk to having someone think for all of their life that this is completely abnormal, completely not allowed, and completely wrong. And that's what drives up the suicide rate.
So you mentioned that it should be an age where, like, age appropriate for when young people start watching, see the inclusion. What age you think that is? What age do you think?
I think what I mean is I think there is a space for age appropriate media. So right now there's a lot of media from a very young age that is catered towards cisgender traditional couples, right?
Right.
And that's a fine perspective. I would say probably around 9, you could start like introducing the idea in some comic books that, you know, it's okay for someone not to like girls in that way or boys in that way. It's okay for someone to have 2 dads, instead of putting that the child of those 2 dads at risk of being teased because he has 2 dads.
Yeah, so when it comes down to stuff like that, I like the idea of kids.
Yeah, me too.
Kids,
Trust me, I would rather have them outside of the classroom just playing around instead of thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, because like I didn't even really start liking girls for real until I hit like 13, 14. That's when it really kicked in for me. So like when I was 9, 10 years old, I was still watching Samurai Jack and playing with Power Rangers and stuff. Like, I didn't even think about having a girlfriend or nothing like that. But I'm a real believer in let a child be a child.
So,
Kids be kids.
When I was 9, 10 years old, I was raised, my dad is my stepdad. So my mom, I never knew my biological dad.
Mm-hmm.
I had to spend quite a lot of time alone at home. And during that time, I was secretly trying on my mom's dresses from the laundry because I wanted to be a girl already.
So you already knew within you that you already wanted to be female. So is it like that for like it's different?
It's different case by case,
right? Like for each person.
And that's like from my perspective, I'm not in America. I've been there, but I've never lived there, so I don't know what I see on the media is true or false. But I see 2 perspectives, and both of them are on the extreme side, right? It's hard to find a middle ground of what things should be, but I strongly doubt that within my heart, I strongly doubt that there's this like agenda, because I'm not pushing an agenda, and nobody pushed an agenda on me. Everything was intrinsic.
Yeah, you know, you from America on the outside looking in. One thing about it, America don't show like the real shit. So I don't know where you get your news source from. So you say it's an extreme for both sides. That may be true because this country is like on some other shit. So, but within the country, like you won't think that it's that bad. They show you what you want, what they want you to see. If that makes sense. So if every time I get on Twitter or Instagram, all I'm seeing down my timeline is members of the LGBTQ community, and then I turn on the TV, I'm seeing commercials of members from the LGBTQ community, and then I'm watching movies. Like every day that you see, you be like, damn, like what's going on? You start thinking like they pushing something, they trying to push something. Because like it feel like it's an agenda, because after a while you start seeing it so much. Cause I remember I had a conversation with my brother. I was like, I don't know if I'm just not starting to notice it or has it been there for the longest, but now it's more prevalent.
Do you think that?
And I don't know if I don't know if I want to call it inclusion or an agenda, because people should be included, like, and stuff like you said, it should be a representative of everything in media. So I don't know what to call it, inclusion or
I think
agenda.
So I have a question. Do you think that part of it could be an alternate agenda to the one we're talking about? So it could be an agenda from the right in order to weaponize trans people. How do you do that? How do you weaponize people that are only 1.5% of the population? So exactly. So we're not a lot, there are not a lot of us, right? And in general, like, not a lot of people meet trans people. So if you flood the media suddenly, and then you change your rhetoric to trans people are the problem, they're pushing an agenda, and you just have this, like, you own the media corporations, and Elon Musk, who comes from my alma mater, I went to the same school as him. He gives you $250 million to do with as you will, and he hates his trans daughter who lives in Japan, and says that that his son was killed by the woke mind virus. Right? So now you have all of this power behind all of this media messaging, and suddenly people are going, trans people are the problem.
Like I said, I see it all the time. Like, and it be times where I talk about it on TNE with Carl or whoever I got on. I'm like, bro, I'm seeing it all the time. But like I told you a moment ago, I used to be super homophobic, but now I'm
transphobic.
Everybody to live their life. Because how are you transphobic?
A lot of trans people have internalized transphobia. You know how scared I am that I'm going to lose everything because of what I've done? That my life is gone because of people just hating me for no reason. That's transphobia. It's not, it's...
But you're in Asia, and it's more accepted over there in Asian
sure.
countries, right?
But my uncles pretty much don't want to speak to me. They told me to man up, and that's the last message they sent me. Yeah.
Damn.
So there's a lot of trans people are walking around worried for their own safety, for and scared of themselves in many ways. Some trans people won't even communicate with other trans people because they don't want to associate with that.
What are your thoughts on when they be like, when people be saying that being trans is a form of needing mental health, like help with your mental capacity?
It's not something that I feel qualified to talk about, but I don't like it because I'm objectively mentally healthier now than I was before.
Right.
And I objectively have less risk to myself. Not that I'm not saying that I was on the verge of, I've never done self-harm, but I thought about it and I don't anymore. And that's despite all of this shit coming my way. Like I had to get a lawyer because the HR at my school is actively gunning for me. And I went, so out of a sense of the need to be responsible and professional, I went there after I got my prescription and started HRT and told them that this is going to happen. And I said, I want to work on a strategy to manage this through the parents and figure out how we want to do this. And if you want me to move classes or move campuses, that's fine, because I can go somewhere else and just be there as a female teacher. And then 2 days later, they were like, "Oh, you said you were going to resign. So please, where's your resignation letter?" And then I was like,
"So what'd you do to come back there? Because that ain't what you did."
I got a lawyer. Yeah. I was just like, "No, I didn't say that."
Okay. Okay.
I think maybe I sidetracked a bit there. Sorry.
Well, no, it's all good. Like I said, I talk about whatever on here. I didn't know how you was gonna react to coming on TNA because, like I said, you're the first guest I had outside of my folks. And usually just be me and my brother. We just be on here and we talk about whatever we talk about throughout the week or what we see happening.
Have you ever
or whatever? But yeah, just having this conversation with you, it made me feel. I'm gonna tell you, so I've been recording podcasts for about 2 years, 3. I forgot how long. I just know I started on May 26th, and out of all the episodes I recorded and stuff, like joining the RSS space and communicating with people and reaching out to folks to collaborate, it made me feel like that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing, if that makes sense. Because I've been wanting to do podcasts and do this for the longest since 2018, 2017, but I just put it off waiting on other folks and all that type of stuff. So me finally coming up with the whole idea of my podcast and recording and doing everything myself with my brothers, and then having you to come on, you know, it to me is validating that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, that I'm on the right path to having more people and eventually taking off and doing what I wanted to do. So I appreciate you coming on
Thank you. Today. No, I appreciate you bringing me on. And I was nervous about being here. I wasn't sure how you're going to react. Have you ever spoken to a trans person for this long before?
Yeah. I had a friend that was trans. She ended up passing away. So I had a friend named Bailey. So I knew a trans person, but I really didn't understand. Like I told you, I was homophobic. So I was surprised that we even became friends. But that's just how life is. Like, if you look past all the bullshit and you get to know the person, you be like, man, that man cool, man. That person cool as hell. So, yeah. But like I said, I don't know what episodes that you listen to of my show, but sometimes, especially when me and my brother Carl on here, we can just go off. Like, just say, because we very opinionated. So, but I'm not disrespectful, though. So I'm down. I told you I'm down to have a conversation with him. But like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and I like your podcast too.
Thank you. I've just right now after this, I'm going to record the intro to episode 4, and I'll be uploading soon. Yeah.
Okay. But if within a week or so, I can possibly be
absolutely. Yeah. So I just got. I'm going to be using Riverside. I
made an account with Riverside yesterday. I can't remember if you said something about it, and I tried to see what it was like and stuff like that. So I got the account.
It'll be the same kind of invite link. I have another guest on next week, but maybe the week after, if you're okay. Like probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. We can hash out all the detail.
Have you had a thought about the prompt you want to bring on?
No, I ain't even had no thought about it. But like I said, I'm just gonna follow. It's your show, so I'm just gonna follow. We gonna talk about whatever you bring up.
This is awesome, Ken. Do you mind if we have we have Luigi, my co-host, on as well? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right.
Yeah, it was cool. But like I said, I appreciate you coming through. We're gonna go on and wrap everything up. I got a busy day ahead of me. As always, like I say at the end of every episode of TNE, I appreciate everybody coming through, listening, the new listeners and the recurring listeners. Special thank you to you, Ruby, for coming through. Y'all give her podcast Kaleidoscope a listen. I'm gonna have the link. I'm gonna link it in the description. Like I was saying, I ended up doing something and messing up the audio at the end of this episode, but I'm gonna leave the link of the description of Ruby's podcast Kaleidoscope, Perspective Beyond the Surface, and the link below in the description. Check her out. And like I say always, I appreciate everybody that listen to TNE. And I want to give a special thanks to Ruby Rae for coming on and sharing, some of her story with me and to us, to Navanians. And until next time, peace.